Welcome back to Keep It Good. I'm your host, Emily.
And I'm your host, Carly. So today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Leanne Mailman. She is a board-certified behavioral analyst. So welcome, Leanne. We're so excited to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. We have a lot to go over. Now, specifically, you work with children, is that correct? Or
I
any?
I I work with people of all ages. For my business, Beyond Behavior, I primarily work with children and families. Yes.
Okay, good. So we're going to dive into the children part. So starting off, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? What made you choose this path?
Sure. So again, my name is Leanne. My last name really is Mailman. That'll hopefully get a few laughs, and you'll remember it. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, as Carly said. So that means that the therapy I provide is called ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. And what that is really it's the study of human behavior, and it's a set of interventions that can be applied to humans of any age, any ability. We often hear about ABA with kids with autism, but it truly is the study of human behavior. So what I do is I work with children and families. Typically, the families who call me are families whose kids are struggling with some challenging behaviors and they are needing some extra support. And the way that I got to this point and why I do what I do is I'm a certified special education teacher. And a million years ago, when I was teaching in school, I would have kids in my classroom that had really pretty challenging behaviors. And I'm a teacher, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have no idea what to do. What am I doing? How do I reach these kids? And how do I manage these behaviors and teach to these kids skills that they don't have? And I had no idea what I was doing. Then I realized nobody else in the school really did either. And I'm like, there's got to be a
Yeah.
person whose primary focus is behavior, getting these things under control so that these kids can learn and access their education. And I went and found out that that's a board certified behavior analyst. And I went back to school and now I do this and it's
Oh,
great
that's
and I love it.
awesome.
And yes, I feel like I can really focus on something that's so needed and feel fortunate to be here.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
we need more of you for sure. I feel like a lot of the kids just kind of get swept under the carpet in schools because there isn't enough hands-on help with the behaviors, you
Right.
know?
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for doing that. That's takes a special person and you definitely are. So I
Oh,
applaud
thank
you for
you.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's so cool. You hear, like Carly said, you hear that a lot. Now I think we're starting to hear that a little bit in the schools. There's behaviorists, in the schools to help, but it's amazing that you did that beforehand. Before you
Thanks.
Yeah.
really got. Yeah, that's
Thanks.
great. So,
No.
let's start with some questions. How can parents differentiate between what's normal behavior and what behavior would cause like a bigger concern?
That's such a good and important question. And I think it's a question that, any parent who's struggling with any type of challenging behavior asks themselves, right? Because a lot of the time we don't necessarily know what's age appropriate or appropriate in general. So a couple pointers that I might give to parents would be that to know that all people, not just kids, are going to have challenging behaviors at times. I mean, I have adult tantrums sometimes, right? We all have challenging
Oh,
behaviors at
same.
times, right? So,
Yes. Mm.
looking at it from that lens, but then when it comes to our kids, we're going to want to look at patterns. So if we see that behaviors are very intense to the point where they're unsafe or somebody's getting hurt or they're happening really, really frequently or for very long durations, that sometimes can be a red flag. Taking that information along with, well, where are these behaviors happening, right? If they're only happening at home and you have the kid that I hear this a lot, like the kid that has a really hard time at home, but at school they're an angel and the teachers can't believe it. Like I can't
Mhm.
believe that, he or she does that at home. Then that's actually kind of typical. That's actually somewhat typical versus if you're getting reports that your child's also really having a hard time at school with certain behaviors, then that becomes a little more concerning where you might want to look into, how can I support my child better? Because now they're struggling across settings. So ask yourself the question like, how much is this behavior interfering with my child's daily life in
Mhm.
across settings?
Okay. Now, what are some signs that your child is struggling either emotionally or socially, like at school, because my son will come home and I'm like, "How was your day?" "Good." But then, like, certain things will come out that, like, he sits with, like, one person at lunch. It's little things that, like, as I don't know, girl moms probably hear an earful and all the tea after school, and I get very little, like, unless it's, like, 10 minutes before bedtime, and then they're just telling you everything, and it's, you're like, "What? It's not the time." But what are some signs that I can look for to see if my little guy is struggling emotionally or socially or.
It's all different. I have 2 daughters, and they're it depends on the day, even with girls, sometimes they'll come home and I will get the earful, and other times they come home and I'm not getting anything. It's fine. Everything was fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay." But I love that you said that sometimes they'll let it all out at bedtime. So I think the fact that they're sharing something with you at some point during the day is a good sign. And if you're just getting the fine, then that's not anything that's overly concerning, but you're gonna wanna look for things like avoidant kinds of behaviors. So if your child is giving you a hard time about going to school or, that can sometimes show up in like somatic complaints. "Oh, I have a stomach ache. I can't go today." That can become concerning if it's, happening often. And I would ask myself, what's going on? Like that they might be trying to avoid. Like, are they struggling with something? And if they're not sharing that with you, then I would reach out to their teacher. If something truly concerning is going on, like, well, this would be if the teacher knows about it, they're going to contact you, right? Our teachers are so wonderful. They have our kids' best interests at heart. They are so aware of most things that are going on. Lunch and recess can be a different story.
Yeah.
But if they're concerned about something, or if your child is having a hard time with something or dealing with some challenging behavior at school, and don't forget, challenging behavior can look like things like isolating or withdrawing. Those are behaviors, right? Those are things we can do. We don't always have to think about behavior as like aggression or hitting or acting out. It's anything we can do. That your child's teacher is going to be on top of that, and they're more often than not going to contact you. And if you're ever questioning it, I always say reach out to the teacher. Reach out to the teacher. They're not mind readers from what's going on at home to what's going on at school. So just be on the same page and talk with them about your concerns from like a team approach, right? You're on the
Yeah.
same team for what's in the best interest of your child.
Yeah.
Well, that's
How
good to know,
can
yeah.
how can parents help manage, like, big emotions, like frustration and anxiety? I feel like my older daughter has a little bit of the anxiety piece, and she's very dramatic about it, or I think she is. It's, like, over the top. So, like, how can I manage that with her? I try to with both of them, it's like, "I hear you, but we're good." Like, that's not a big deal, if I really think it's not a big deal. But how can you manage that? Like, I need help with her.
Okay. Yeah, yes.
I need help.
So big feelings, these big outward feelings. We're seeing so much anxiety. I think okay, so I do first wanna say that for you, Emily and Carly, I just applaud you so much for, like, bringing this topic to the forefront, or if a parent's listening, like, wanting to do better by their child, I think that is the greatest thing in the world. I truly do, and I just anything I say, like, I hope it doesn't come off from a place of judgment. I just meant more to, like, teach and give you tools, and I preface this because of what I'm about to say is ask yourself, what do you do in those moments? Right? When I'm
Yeah.
frustrated, whether my husband or whoever else thinks that it's not a big deal or not, is a big deal or not, what am I doing in those moments? Right? If when I'm overwhelmed and I'm frustrated, because we often want our kids to do things that we can't even do. Right? If
Yeah.
we're yelling
That's
Right.
fair.
and we're having
Yeah.
adult tantrums and adult meltdowns, how is my kid ever going to learn how to do something different if that's what they're seeing? And I'm not saying that that's what they're seeing
Yeah.
all the time, but like
Well,
I'm the behaviorist, and even in my own house, my kids are seeing that. Okay.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
well, no, yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
So, so I think the very first thing would be to model some strategies and talk it through and like fake it till you make it kind of. So if you're finding yourself in moments of frustration, be like, "Oh, man, I'm really frustrated right now because this, that, and the other thing happened. Like I want to yell and swear, and but I get like I can't do that. I can be frustrated, right? That feeling is fine. I can feel frustrated, but what's not fine is the challenging behavior that comes with it. So I gotta like, step away from this for a few minutes. or, take a few deep breaths, or Emily, I know, well, you do both do yoga. Oh, I got to like sign myself up for a yoga class, right? Or,
Yeah.
those strategies that work for you. And I've listened to some of your episodes, so I know you both have some really great strategies. But
Thanks.
make it like so obvious that you're doing
Mhm.
these things so that your
Okay.
kids can see it. And I'm not saying that like your kids see it once and then they're going to be like, oh, well, mom went and took a deep breath. So I'm going to, the next time I get frustrated. They're not.
Right.
They're not. But they're definitely not gonna do it if they don't see it happening.
That's so yeah, I never thought about that. It seems silly to us to be, like, talking our feelings out in front of them, but that is how you learn. It's not like we're watching Sesame Street and they're explaining these big emotions, like, how else are they gonna learn but from us? That
Right.
I'm gonna start talking like that. Steve's gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?" But I'm gonna actually test that out because my
Yeah.
oldest one now, I've talked about his ADHD, but in order to help others and to help myself, I wanna kinda get the answer to this too. So he was diagnosed with autism. Um, he's level 1, so they say high functioning, like, however you wanna name it. We struggle a lot with behaviors, and he is the one that is masking all day at school. The teachers are like, "He's an angel, he's so sweet." I am his punching bag. I have been told this a million times, I'm his safe spot, like, and I love that part of it, but it's so hard for me to like, I could cry right now just talking about it because it's so hard sometimes, but, um, it's a struggle every single day, and it's mainly towards me? So, like, how would you help parents who have the kids with ADHD, autism, to manage it? Because it is a different behavior. It's stronger and it's more on the frequent.
It certainly can be, and you're so brave to bring that up, and thank you for sharing that part about your life and what you're dealing with. I think you even just sharing that, and asking for support is definitely like step number 1. And you're right. Some kids will hold it together all day at school. And, you always hear, oh, you're their safe place. And I got to say, every family that I work with, the behaviors are more intense with mom. Like it's just across the board. And I take that a step further because I think that as moms, our attention and our connection are the absolute greatest things that our child could ever have. And unfortunately, they're, like, insatiable when it comes to mom's attention, right? So that's what you're contending with. So, I mean, I can say the obvious things, and I've listened to the podcast, and I know you gotta, fill your own cup and do all that as mom, so that's definitely, priority number 1 is take care of yourself. Then behaviorally, though, from a behavior analytic lens, I would I would suggest and I should have prefaced this whole thing, but with a little disclaimer about that you're right. Like some children's and any human, any people, behavior are more intense, right? And some people who might be listening today, their behavior might be at a level where they need more individualized support and individualized therapy than what we're able to provide on a podcast, right? Where we're talking very generally. I understand that and I recognize that. So, Carly, I mean, you do all the right things. You're seeking out extra supports. You are really trying to understand your children's behavior and your child's behavior. And I would say just be careful about how you're using your attention, not just you, anybody. So your positive attention is your absolute greatest tool. So use it wisely because whatever you are attending to, whether that's positive behavior or negative behavior, that's what you're going to see more of. So if you want to see more negative behavior, then keep redirecting, keep saying, don't do that, don't do that. What are you doing? What are we doing? Keep talking about all the things and make that the focus. I mean, I
Mhm.
heard you two both say in another episode about something else, like what you focus on, you get more of, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
if you're living your life and like looking at gratitude and I'm thankful for this and abundance and everything is like positive and you choose to be happy, you get more of that, right? I mean, you said your favorite book was The
Yeah.
Secret, I think. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Yeah.
basically the secret. So
Yeah.
behavior's the same. Behavior's the same for everybody. And I don't wear rosy colored glasses. I'm not like a Pollyanna. I'm kind of a realist, but I've seen this truly like change lives. So you got to find those small, tiny moments of positive behavior and you got to praise them and you got to let your kid know you notice them. Okay. And I'm not talking about, oh my God, you got student of the month. That's amazing. That's a huge thing. I'm talking about, wow, like you put your sneakers on today and didn't complain about it. That was awesome. Right? Oh my, you got right in the car. Like I only had to say get in the car twice and you did it. Like that was amazing. You're literally telling your kids this and you are laying it on so thick that you're like making yourself and your your parenting partner sick.
I know I get frustrated when my girls are frustrated. So it's like they're learning my frustration and how I'm speaking to them too,
Yeah,
Right. Right.
you
Yep.
know? So that
Yes.
makes total sense.
I
Yes.
know. It could be the smallest thing that sets him off, like not getting his way or change in routine. Like we have to be very kind of structured with his routine or else holy cow. So it's a fine line, but I am going to start praising more of even if it's just like you said putting on your shoes. I don't think I've ever attempted that approach, so that's a good little tool that I'm going to add.
Yes. I sometimes have parents who are, whose kids are having a very, very hard time. And they'll say to me, my kid doesn't do anything good in the course of a day. Like that's how like deep we're in this. And I'll say, well, first of all, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never met a kid who does not do anything positive in a day
Yeah.
ever. But if you truly feel that way, then praise the absence of the challenging behavior. So if there was an opportunity where you're like holding your breath because your kid would normally have a meltdown, be like, catch them right then. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you stayed calm. Like that was really frustrating. And didn't get, you didn't blow up right there. That was amazing. So that's a
Yeah.
little trick you could try too.
Yeah, I love that approach because we are always look for the good, keep it good, like focus
Yes.
on positivity. And yet my child is my biggest test in life, And
Yes. Yes.
so yeah, I'm gonna definitely use that one.
So, like, these would be good strategies to use, like, not when your child is acting out, when they're doing good, right? So, what are some, like, good strategies when they are acting out or having a fit, whether it be in public or at home or whatever?
Yes, very good questions. So, when you think about behavior, definitely, I love what you just said. Think about like there's things we can do when our kids are in good moments. That's when we want to
Mhm.
be teaching the skills, trying to identify what are they missing and what can I teach them. But yeah, but then okay, I did that, but my kid's still having a meltdown, whether it's in public or not, right? So, I have a couple steps that I like to tell parents to use when behavior is escalating, whatever that looks like for your child, right? And this would be like before behavior became to an unsafe level. So we're just starting to escalate.
Okay.
I would say to stay calm. I would say beforehand, like get on the same page as your parenting partner so you can both respond consistently if you have a parenting partner. And then what I try to do is try to validate how the child might be feeling. So if you can take a guess on how they're feeling, you say, "Oh man, I know. Like I saw that your brother just took your toy out of your hands, and that must have been really frustrating for you." Whew. Because sometimes kids act out because they want us to know how mad they are or how big
Yeah.
their feelings are. So sometimes if you validate it, it's not going to stop the behavior, but it might keep it from going from a 9 to a 10, right? So you're
Yeah.
gonna validate, okay? But other than that, you're not gonna say much more. This is not the time to lecture. This is not even the teachable moment, really, if behavior's escalating, okay? You can try to redirect to something more positive, like, come on over here and let's, do this other thing instead that might help to decompress them. But if behavior's still escalating, you can try to repeat those steps a few times, and then you're just going to wait it out as long as everyone is safe. There are things you can do to make the behavior worse, and one of them is giving it attention. You're kind of watering the weeds at that point. You don't want more weeds, right? You don't want more weeds. So you can wait out the behavior without saying too much. You're keeping everybody safe. And then as soon as your child even makes one little iota of an idea that they're going to get back on track, you praise them. Hey, good job. That was tough, but you worked through it. That was good job. And I'm not saying like they tear your house apart and you're going to be like, good job. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking, these are the
Thank
moments
you.
where things are escalating, but they didn't get to that unsafe point. In public, it could be harder, right? I mean, we've all been there. And one thing I want to say is like, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. Your child is not the first kid to melt down in Target, and they won't be the last. I can promise you that. So give yourself some grace. Um, and I want to, if it's okay, I want to work through a scenario here.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
it.
Let's say that I bring my daughter to Target before lunch, and maybe picture her as little. Okay, she's little. And I bring my daughter to Target before lunch, and we're like kind of in the grocery aisle, and she sees the funfetti kind of Oreos, and she says, "I want those." And I tell her no. And she has a tantrum. So she flops on the floor, she's melting down, she's flailing, she's kicking, she's screaming, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, "Oh my god, like we're in public. What the heck do I do?" And I just say to her, "Fine, get the Oreos and let's get out of here." What did she learn there?
If she freaks out, she gets her way.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very
Yeah.
good. That's so good because some people
Thank
some people
you.
say some people say nothing, nothing. She didn't learn anything. I'm like, "No, no, no. Emily's right. She learned, oh, I do this behavior. I
Mhm.
got what I wanted," right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
in that moment, my hope would be that I would give myself some grace because that's done, right? That already happened. But what I'm going to do moving forward is say, "What can I do differently next time?" Next time I have to go to the grocery store with my daughter, how am I going to better prepare both of us for this? So, any ideas?
You're not
Putting you on
gonna
the spot.
go when she didn't have lunch.
100%. Yes. Yes. I'm gonna
Emily's on fire.
You are on fire,
Girl,
and I'm
this
putting you
is
on the spot.
my daughter. This is my baby.
So, yes, I'm going to feed her before we go or go at a different time. Yes. Okay, any other thoughts?
And not get the
Um
Oreos.
Right, like, I could make up my mind beforehand no matter what she asks for. I do not wanna give in to that challenging behavior, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I taught her that's on me now. I taught her that. I taught her, "You do that behavior and you get the good thing." So, yes,
Yeah.
kind of maybe give myself a pep talk, like, no matter what happens, I'm not gonna get the thing. But there's a couple more proactive things that we can do. There is so often an attention connection piece in kids' behavior. So I would try to fill my daughter's bucket before we go. So I would sit down with her, give her some undivided attention to be like, let's make a list together for the things we need at Target, and we're doing it together. And maybe I choose to put one thing on the list that she might want, right, and that she can get. But if you're not a junk food family, then maybe you don't, and that's fine. And then I'd make my own consequence. So consequence is not a bad word. It does not mean punishment. Consequence can be it's whatever happens after the behavior. So I would also say to her, "Hey, if you can stay calm in the grocery store, and calm means, this, this, and this, and we can stick to the list, then I'm going to take you to the park after." Right?
Hmm.
So I tied in my own kind of positive incentive. It doesn't have to be the food thing. It doesn't have to be a tangible item, but it's something that she can work for. And then that way she can learn the skills of like, "Oh, I stayed calm and I got the good thing."
I'm gonna try
Love
that one
it.
too. I mean, my
Yep.
boys are past that age, thank God, well, no, knock on wood,
Well,
because
yeah, but
whatever I
but
say
other things,
happens.
right? Yeah, other things. I am writing
But
down notes.
what I really hope to do in that giving that scenario is I want to empower parents to look at every behavior in that way. So if your boys are past that age, well, ask yourself, well, what kind of behavior are they having, and what is the trigger, and
Yeah.
what can I do differently next time to make sure that maybe I can avoid the trigger. But if I can't, how do I make sure that the challenging behavior isn't resulting in the thing that they want or need? And if it's truly a need, what skill can I teach them that's better to get their need met?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
So,
Any
going
goals
back to my son, he's perfect at school all day, and then he comes home and he just explodes. What can I do to kind of help that transition? Is there something that I can do to kind of set the tone immediately when he gets home from school that will kind of lessen the blow on
It's a
me?
really good question, and I know you have, like, a morning routine checklist. You can also have an afternoon routine checklist. It's not gonna be like an end all where everything's automatically better, but predictability and consistency are great. One little thing that I just, heard and liked was, kids in that transition time, they need, like, time to themselves, but it's helpful if they can like move around and also use their brains. So I just heard you can like hide something, and that way when they come in, it's like something that they want. That's the first thing on their visual schedule, but they have to kind of like work in a focused way and they're moving their body to find the thing.
Oh, I
So you
love
can
that.
try
Yeah,
something
that's
like
cool.
that, and then move through the checklist. And I mean, a checklist is only going to have maybe 3 things on it, but I would always put the last one as something with you or, whichever parent is home so that there's kind of that natural incentive at the end, like, okay, I get my snack and I eat it. And then, kids are hangry too when they get home, right? So that's
Mhm.
working against them. So, they're fed. And then maybe it's, um, I wouldn't even put any demands in the checklist yet, like putting your backpack away. I would save that for later. So some kind of downtime that maybe your child would be successful doing on their own. And then the third thing is maybe like, this kind of activity with mom or dad. And it doesn't have to be like extra special. It could be just like check in or, playing a card game or something like that.
Oh, I
Um,
love that. That's a good idea. Yeah, because then it'll, I don't know, not seem like, okay, did you put your lunchbox away? Da 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 da. Homework. Like it does. It gets a little bit overwhelming with what needs to be done before bed. But if I eliminate that,
yeah.
then maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna start looking into like this is for me to change my approach, because
Mm.
he is very little still. So, yeah, I've tried everything else and this is just one more tool to learn is my approach to all of it because I feel like I'm at the point where I have anxiety with him coming home, so that's totally affecting him clearly, He can read my energy, I feel. So,
Right.
Mm.
yeah, I think I'm going to start incorporating that for sure. I love the hiding of the
Yeah,
'Cause
because
that's
he
cool. I like that too.
loves yeah, he loves stuff like that, and my mom used to do that for me too growing up, and I
Or
loved
it
it.
could even be like a little note, like you
Oh,
put notes
yeah.
in your kid's lunchbox. I heard that episode too.
Mhm.
And,
Yes.
and maybe it's the little note that he finds if that's something that he would look for. Another piece too, though, is you don't want to like, that's, those things are like frivolous, assuming that everything's okay. But if you're noticing that like, oh gosh, on like Wednesdays and Fridays, he's coming home and consistently those days are rough. I would communicate with the school too and just to kind of explain that to them to see like, is there anything are the expectations at school balanced? Like, or are we asking too much of him in certain ways? I
Hmm.
was working with one family last week, and the the child was having a really hard time one day. Come to find out, he had a sub at school that day, right? So they're just understanding
Oh,
too that there are things that can certainly stress our kids out more, on some days than others.
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
No, that's great. So, like, we're talking about like our energy and being can feed off of that, right? I feel like we kind of touched on this, but what are some common mistakes that parents do unintentionally that could reinforce negative behavior? So, like, I know I feed into my kids sometimes when they're acting crazy. I'm like, "Oh my god," like I'm so frustrated too, and then clearly that's bad from what I'm learning. And I know it's bad. It doesn't make me feel good, like, but some days I'm just stressed as well or whatever. They've thrown me over the edge and my blood is boiling and we're a mix of
At war.
hormones, me and my girls. Yeah. So, I'm sure that is not helping the negative behavior. But is there other things besides that, besides kind of falling into the trap with them and then you're both kind of yelling and you're both upset with each other and the circle
Yes.
continues?
So again, give yourself some grace because we as humans are evolutionarily wired to notice the loud and the bad and the things that are in our face. So we do have to like it's work. I mean, it's work to notice the more positive things or to not respond to the louder things. So just knowing that I think is step one and being very careful with your attention. Another mistake that is very common is giving in. I mean, it's our kids' job to test boundaries. Oh, time to turn the TV off. No, one more show. And they can be relentless and persistent.
God,
And we
yeah.
give in. We give in. But the problem is we give into the challenging behavior. We give into the whining, right? Or
Mm,
whatever that looks like, or the tantrum in the moment. So it's okay. We want our kids to learn how to compromise and negotiate, and we want them to be able to get the things they want in a healthy way, but we got to kind of teach that skill. So even if it's, well, maybe can you ask me a little nicer? And then maybe I'll say yes. Or sometimes I'll even just say the words like, could I watch one more show, mom,
yeah.
please? And
Right.
and
Do that
I'll
too.
keep repeating it until my child says it. And then I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like if that's reasonable to watch one more show. And if it's
Mhm.
not, then the answer is no, and you got to stick to that boundary.
Yeah.
Right? Kids actually want parents to stick to boundaries. They feel safer when parents are on the same page and when boundaries are enforced.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, okay, we've done sticker charts. My mother-in-law was a principal and a special ed teacher, and so she helped us one year when my older one was in kindergarten, and we did the sticker chart thing, and it was very much what you're saying. You praise, like, anything small and, sticker chart, like, rewards are tangible. A movie night, or we get to stay up a little later, not necessarily a food like a treat or we have to go spend 20 bucks at Target kinda thing. But are there other ways to encourage, like, cooperation without having it be like a rewards chart or, like, you're punished if you don't do this? Like, how do we get
Yeah, there has
there?
to be like a
I
common, like a midline, just
Or is there
so
not? Or does it depend on the age?
maybe
Or maybe there's
yeah.
not, I don't know.
It's a good question, and I get it a lot, like, "Oh, I want my kids to be intrinsically motivated." Like, they need
Yeah.
internal motivation because we just all have to do things in our life that we don't wanna do, and yes, that's true, but, like, is anybody that you know going to work for free?
That is
Oh,
so fair.
true.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
no, unless you're
Ding,
independently
ding,
wealthy and you're
ding.
volunteering, right? And even then, there is always something that is maintaining and reinforcing a behavior, okay? So, it does not always have to be a tangible reward, though. It doesn't have to be that you go spend the $20 at Target,
Right.
or I don't use edibles ever. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a treat, but understanding that there are things that reinforce behavior. So, attention is huge, huge. So, you're gonna play around with how you're using your attention. Accessing something good is huge. That reinforces behavior. So that means, like, it can be a lot of people use screen time. I have mixed feelings about screen time. I think it needs to be used responsibly, but like a little TV time to reward something good that happened or following the chart, that is fine to me. Or building up to some fun activity. One thing I love, I have a family who actually came up with this on their own that I work with, and they have a reinforcer box, and there's nothing in there that costs any money, and the child helped come up with it, and it's things like that mom and dad both read him a bedtime story at night. Like,
Aw.
how sweet is that? So it can be, like,
Yep.
things like that, but kids do need that kind of, like, external piece, to learn a new skill. I'm not saying those things have to be in place forever, but
Mhm.
if you're trying to teach this new skill and behaving in a more positive way, there needs to be something maintaining it and reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It
When you
does.
said who works for free, I mean, yeah,
Yeah. I was like, "Oh."
very true, very true. Now, you touched a little bit on the screen time. What do you think in this new digital age effect? Are you seeing more behaviors because of the increase of screens? I mean, they have it in schools now. I get a little fearful of that because screens for me that I've noticed is a trigger. If I let my son on the tablet, it's like crack cocaine. He doesn't know how to turn it off. He is now addicted. He wants more and more and more. And I worry that he's at school trying to learn, which he should be learning with pen and paper and reading and seeing and talking, but they're putting them in front of these screens. Have you seen any increase, or like what are your thoughts on screens and tablets and
Yeah,
all the
good
things?
question. So I should have prefaced too that most of what I'll talk about today, like, I have my behavior analyst hat on, but sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not going to take that hat off, but I'm going to put my mom hat on too, right? So it may not be truly like behavior analytical, but I haven't researched screen time, right? It's not. What I'm about to say doesn't come from any kind of evidence other than my own personal experience. But I also have a daughter whose brain, I can see it. Her brain just responds differently after using a screen. I have another daughter who can sit on, not that I would let her, but sit and watch TV or use a tablet all day and act completely the same. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I see from personal experience that it can do something to kids'
Yeah.
brains in different ways. I personally, I limit screen time. Feel better about TV than I do this screen that's right in front of a kid's face that
Right.
they're controlling, especially if
Yes.
they're already challenged, like having like a hard time with attention and hyperactivity. So my own children, they can watch TV after all their activities are done, and we have a checklist of things that they need to do at home, and then they can watch TV daily, but they don't do any kind of tablet or anything except on weekends, and even then it's limited.
Mhm.
I don't wanna completely have it out of the picture because then I think it gives it a lot of power, and then I feel like kids want it even more. So that's how we've found to have a healthy balance in my house. So I would just suggest you gotta keep an eye on it and just observe how, your kids might be acting around and after screens and see if you can find that healthy balance for your own family. But certainly, I definitely think it plays into behavior. When I think about why are schools in crisis right now with these behaviors that are so much more intense and so much more frequent than what I feel like we were dealing with when we were in school.
Right.
And, again, I have not done the research, but I feel like technology has a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
I'm with you, Leanne. I have the 2 kids. One it could be crazy after, and the other one, if I let her on it, she's whatever, back
yeah.
to normal programming,
Yeah,
so
same,
Yep.
same.
different kids. Yeah.
One is totally fine, the other is like, "Oh, no, we only use that on the airplane," They're like,
Yeah,
strict, strict,
very
yeah.
strict.
Uh,
Okay, this one is totally a question for me, but busy schedules, hurtful or helpful? Like, to keep the kids busy and in activities and, go from one thing to the next. Both my kids are now in elementary school, and so I have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, and my 3rd grader's always been somewhat busy. My kindergartner, she's been doing things, but, since she's so little, it's like once a week or twice a week, something little. But what she's doing right now, we are, like, in it. It is so intense, and my husband has a job where his shifts change, and it's an intense job, and, we're just busy. Like, we don't get a lot of family dinners together. We don't like, it's crazy, and I won't do this again next fall. That's my plan, but, I didn't kinda know going in. So, like, is it good to keep them busy and not just sitting around? And, because sometimes when we are quiet at home, I'm like, "Oh, this is so great. They're gonna rest, and we have a busy week coming up," and but then, like, they're fighting or they're, like, crying. That's really annoying to me. Like, when they're playing together and they're laughing, but they're crying and someone's gonna get hurt, and I tell
oh,
them,
yeah.
and then someone does, that sort of thing. So, like,
Yeah.
what's a good balance? What do you find? Is it just kind of finding that balance per family? And
I do think it's about finding that balance
yeah.
per family. So and I like that you're already reflecting on like, okay, this feels like a little bit too much this fall. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna make a change moving forward. And maybe
Yeah.
in those moments of downtime, at home when your girls are starting to, my grandma used to say, laughing leads to crying. She'd always say
Yeah,
that, laughing
yeah.
leads to crying. So in those moments of laughing leads to crying,
Yeah.
providing them some more structure when you know you
Okay,
have that downtime. So we're going to
okay,
do this, then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And which is work, but it's helpful. And it teaches kids like how to kind of have those executive functioning skills to organize their brains in those moments. But
okay.
for the busyness, I know families whose kids do have ADHD who they just do so much better when they go from like karate to swim lessons to this, and then it's
Yeah,
bedtime because then their kid can sleep. So it's
yeah,
definitely not a one size fits all. But again, I think it's just about that reflection piece and knowing like this feels like a lot. And when it does feel like a lot, trying to build in some of those like anchor times. And it doesn't have to be dinner, sitting down every night, but sometimes where you can kind of regroup as a family and, get ready for the next thing.
yeah,
But
that's fair.
Yeah. Now, I have a question because we're gonna be coming up on Christmas soon. Emily, you were talking about the downtime and, like, all the
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
How do we get through Christmas break this year without broken bones and all the things? Because my boys fight. Like, they'll wrestle for fun, but laughing leads to crying, like you
Laughing, yeah,
said. And I don't know how many ER trips we took this summer because mom turned her back for 30 seconds and someone took a face plant, It's like, to help us get through the holidays this year peacefully, like, what would be some things you would incorporate to kinda help the tantrums decrease? Because I know Christmas, too, could be a lot. Just the day of it, the anticipation of it.
this was a holiday break can be really hard. And it's the time of year I get the most phone calls and summer too. I get a lot of phone calls like, we need help because,
Yeah.
we're home and we're struggling. Um, I would try to implement and put into place as much consistency and predictability as you can and structure. So that might mean making a visual schedule for every day of Christmas, which doesn't sound fun because some people want to be spontaneous and flexible, but maybe you build
mhm,
that in. Maybe it's okay
mhm.
on Tuesday afternoon, we're going to be spontaneous, and that's what that time frame looks like. But at least your kid knows that, okay, well, in the morning, I'm doing this, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing this. And again, build in like, Emma's choice. Emma's one of my daughters. Okay, Emma's choice here. So you still want your kids to have choice, but that it's actually like on the schedule. Okay, I have this, this, and this, and then we're going to have a spontaneous afternoon. At least your kids will know that and have them sit down with you and make the schedule for winter break, right? For every
Mm,
day. And
yeah.
my kids will say to me like the day after Christmas every year, they want that day at home. They don't want to do
Mhm.
anything else. But even then I'd be like, "Okay, so what are some of the things you think you want to do that day?" And it doesn't have to be rigid like, "Okay, from 8 to 8:30 AM, we're going to watch TV and then 8:30 to 9, we're going to have breakfast." Put all the things on a list and then they can pick and choose what they want to do in whatever order. But at least it's some kind of like structure. Again, is it going to stop every single behavior when the boys start to wrestle? No. But it
Yeah.
might help organize their thoughts a little bit more. A little
Yeah.
bit more because it's just so it's hard. I have a hard time being home for the for the holiday break. Like it's
Mm.
just you're out of your routine. You don't really know what to do with yourself. It's hard. And people are stressed over the holidays, so they're probably kids are probably feeding off our stress. It's just
That's
a
true.
really hard time.
Yeah.
Um for the actual day of, like if you got to go to grandma's house or something or I would let them know what you expect of them. And I do have a couple tools that I'll post on my Facebook page that they can do that I've gotten really good feedback about. Like I have a bingo game, but it's like social emotional kind of bingo. So it's like give somebody a compliment or ask somebody this question. Or
Oh,
but there,
I
that
love that.
those two examples were not that fun. There's more fun things on there too, but kids do so much better with, like, a little job or, like, a little s like,
Yeah.
just, again, the structure of things that they can do, and then they get to check it off the list, and if they get bingo, they can, come show you or whatever. So, I'll post those on my Facebook page, so
Oh,
that
I
can help with,
love
like, the
that.
day of. Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
the
that's
day of when you're so
great. No,
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a really good idea. So I know I went into a little bit about the wrestling. How about sibling rivalry? Because I'm in it right now, like the thick of it. It's never fair. Nothing's ever equal. And it's hard because I have an 8 and a 10-year-old. So the 10-year-old obviously can do a little bit more than the 8-year-old, but he doesn't understand that. And it's just a constant competition, fighting. They're either best friends or they're the worst of enemies.
Mm.
Is there a fix all for that, or am I just, like, stuck?
It's so age appropriate, and it's so typical, and I'm actually, like, still learning about this one myself so I can best support families because it is such a common theme. But a couple things, small things I would say that again are not gonna, fix things overnight, but will help over time would be to again notice when there's something positive happening. And that could just be that they're not fighting and they're not wrestling and just tell them
True.
every chance you get. Hey, I love that you boys are sitting here calmly today. Just tell them every single chance you get. Okay. If if they're at a point where if not just you, Carly, but anybody who's listening, like if your kids are at a point where they cannot play safely together, then unfortunately you as the parent have to be there structuring the activity when they're together
Mhm.
because you want to keep your kids safe and they're not ready. They don't have the skills to play safely. So you got to teach them the skills. So that might be where you're playing a game together and you're giving them the language when the problem comes up and you're working through it with them together, but you are there and present and putting the work in now, which is hard. But if you put the work in now for a while, you can eventually kind of fade out of that,
Yeah.
right? And you've taught the
Mhm.
skills, and yeah, you're still going to have these hiccups where kids fight. Kids are always going to fight, but they'll at least have some skill to be able to work through it. I love cooperative games. So there's a bunch of games that don't have a competitive outcome. Like there's not a winner and a loser. It's you're playing it together to achieve a common goal. So one is like Who Owl Who. There's a dinosaur one. I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a company that puts out a bunch of cooperative games. Those are great. Those are great because
Oh.
it's your kids are working together to achieve a common goal, and it's even better if you can play it with them. So
Oh,
I like
I
those.
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
great.
Yeah.
What about my girls are "You love her more than me. When
Oh
I
god,
get
yeah.
hurt, you give her more attention." Like, what's that? Is that girls?
My girls are like that too, and I wish I had a better answer to this other than I'll try to do a little perspective taking with my own girls and say, I'll tell them, "Wait a minute, but like Megan also said that I love you more than than her.
Right.
So how could you both
Right.
be saying and my daughter would be like, "She did? Like, she thinks that too?" So I
Yeah.
don't know, some perspective taking and just, we've all heard that, like, fair doesn't mean equal. Just kind of
Mhm.
teaching any opportunity you have to teach them that. But I think that that's kind of age appropriate. You don't wanna
Yeah.
buy into it. You definitely don't wanna ever pit one kid against the other or be like,
Right.
"Oh, how come you can't do what your sister does?" Like,
Yeah.
never, ever, anything like that, because that certainly feeds into it, but just you can validate it, be like, "I get why you'd think that. I could see why you'd think that," because their feelings are valid, right? If they
That's
truly feel
true.
that way, you
Yeah.
can be like, "Yeah, okay, oh, tell me more about why you feel that way," and then, just kind of have them try to take the perspective, but it's a hard one.
Yeah. No, yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm writing so much stuff down. I just going
I'm
to
gonna have to
therapy.
listen to
That's
this like 15
yeah.
times and take notes when
I'm
I
signing
We're
I'm
packing a
signing
lot
up,
in.
Leanne. I'm
We're
signing
packing a
yeah.
up.
lot in.
I know, I love it though. What about like empathy and social skills? How can we kind of help them with that? Like I've tried to teach my kids about integrity, doing the right thing even when no one's watching. And I try incorporating it as much as I can about, oh, we have to stop talking. They're talking. It's not nice to interrupt or like all these things. Do you have any ideas on like easily instructing them without constantly feeling like I'm lecturing?
Right, so in that moment, like, you have to stop talking because somebody else is talking. Again, the next time I would try to find a moment where he's not talking when somebody else is talking and be like, "I love the way you're staying quiet because that we can," and of course now you're talking, but like, or like tell them later, like, or, "Oh my gosh, that person was talking and you were really respecting him or her because you stayed quiet that whole time." So that'd be the first thing that I would do. If you're in a situation like that where your child is talking, I would give them something else to do. So try to think of it like, what can I teach them in this moment that he could do instead? So
Mm.
instead of talking, so think like, why is he talking? Is he trying to get my attention? And maybe it's, hey, squeeze my hand, or something like that. Like that's an alternative where he's still getting the need met. For empathy and social skills, like I think we have to be careful what comes out of our own mouths and how we're
Mhm.
acting, because again, we're
Mhm.
our child's greatest model, so we can tell them, "Don't do this and do this instead, and don't do that and do this instead," but the second that we go upstairs and talk to our husbands about so and so's mother, like, it all goes out the window because,
Oh, yeah.
that's not a very empathetic thing to do, right?
Yep.
So, modeling it, I think, is huge and sending the right messages. And one thing I love is, again, like, notice anything kind they do and make a really big deal out of it. Some kids don't love any type of feedback, even positive feedback, and if that's your kid, leave them a little note um, to
Mm.
find somewhere in like at their time. And if your child's a reader, say, I love the way you were kind to your brother when you were playing such and such game with like a little smiley face and leave it for them to find and process at their own time. This is not conditional though. It doesn't say, I love the way you played, but next time try this and try this too. It's just the positive. Okay. And if your child's not a reader, draw a little picture of like the interaction and maybe they'll come to you and be like, "What's this?" And you can say, "I love the way that you did that. And I just was thinking about it later." I like that little trick.
So
And
nice.
Yeah.
I like to come back to positive behaviors later. We tend to want to like unpack and talk about things negative that happen later. Like, well, we got to talk about that later and let's talk about, what went wrong and what we could do different next time. But I would much rather see parents talking about the things that went well, like at bedtime or like the next day. I was thinking about that thing you did yesterday. When I went in for recess and you got off the swing so your friend could go on. Oh my gosh, that was so kind. And they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, it was so kind that you thought about it till now and you're telling me about it." Like
Oh,
big
yeah.
impact. So I'd much
Yeah.
rather see like unpacking of the positive things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other day we tried my son came home. We heard him like sneak in, he likes to do that sometimes, like sneak in through the side door. And me and my husband actually were home at the same time, and we both looked at each other and we started talking about him, but like kindly. He would be like, "So how was he this morning?" I'm like, "He was fantastic. We had such a great morning. They did so well. He was already ready before I even asked, like all these things." And we were like really juicing it up so that because he was coming around that corner.
Ah,
And wouldn't you know, we had like a great afternoon because it kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't, like, be talking to my husband's not always home, so I can't be like, "Wow, mom, I can't wait to," like, what is going on with
No.
that? But you're right, like, when you really pull out the good in them, I mean, deep down, they're all good kids, right?
Yes,
They
yes.
really are, and kids want to be good. I've always heard that,
Mm,
like, they're not trying to be bad, it's just they're learning, I'm learning. I've never been a mom to a 10-year-old, and, it's just yeah, I have to give myself a little bit more grace, like you said, and pull out the good. I feel like I'm not doing that as much as I should, and I preach it all the time, so this is
yeah,
a good little look in the mirror.
it sure was.
Keep it good,
Practice what we
Carly. Keep
preach.
it good.
Yeah. No,
Yes, to
absolutely
keep
keep
it
it good.
good. Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Before we end, we have one more question, but this was so amazing, Leanne. Incredible. I have so many
yes.
notes. I am so excited. I am signing up for something with you. I need it clearly with my amount of notes. But our last question, what's one, two, whatever pieces of advice that you wish every parent would know about child behaviors?
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. I do wish every parent, and my goal when I work with families is for parents to understand that your child's not giving you a hard time usually. Sometimes they
Mm,
are, but usually they're having a hard time, right? So trying to approach behavior from a place of compassion and curiosity and understanding like what is my child's behavior communicating to me? How can I help them learn better ways to express this? Understanding behavior and coming at it from a way of what can I teach them instead? Right? It's all
mm,
about teaching. And understanding that as parents, your role in your child's behavior is huge. And there are things that you can do to help your child develop these skills and make sure that any skills they're learning are reinforced in their environments. So if you're here listening and you're trying to do this, like I think that that's awesome. That would be what I tell you. And if you feel like you're at a point where, oh gosh, like kid's behavior is so out of control, then I would suggest, trying to reach out for some type of therapeutic help.
I think a lot of us are in this boat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So if somebody is listening today and they're like, I need to set up a one-on-one or a group, whatever, how can they get a hold of you, Leanne?
So I have a Facebook page. It's Beyond Behavior LLC, and there might be a few that pop up. So mine is the one with the pink and purple infinity symbol. That would be the best way to reach out to me. My email address and cell phone number can be found on there. I'm just one person, so when I go into homes, like my availability is somewhat limited, but I do offer small group workshops which I think are kind of the most bang for folks bucks, where I hope to teach more of these skills and go more in depth with parents. And I found that they've been really beneficial because I think it's also important and helpful for parents to connect with each other and realize that they're not the only ones dealing with challenging behavior. So
Yeah.
that can be very helpful too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much,
So awesome.
Leanne.
Thank you both so much for
Oh,
having me. Thank you so much.
It was so good, so informational.
yes. Yes. And again, if you're struggling, you're not alone. Reach out. I mean, I know you're based in Connecticut, right?
Yes, and I travel in and around the Farmington Valley in Connecticut, but the workshops really should be limited to Connecticut just because 'cause I'm also licensed in the state of Connecticut, so I can't really delve
Right.
too much out of there, but I could direct people in the right direction if in other
Oh.
states, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's really
awesome.
helpful
That's
too.
fantastic.
Yeah. So we always end off with a quote to like kind of tie everything together. And Leanne has the perfect one for us today. So let us hear it.
Eh. Don't let yourself get so concerned with raising a good kid that you forget you already have one, and that's by
Oh,
Glennon Doyle.
oh,
Oh,
so
I love
perfect.
that. Well, thank you again. I want to keep talking to you forever, but
I know, me too. You
right?
have to go to work, or do you wanna stay on?
Ah.
I know. I know.
Thank you so much for having me, and you asked the most thoughtful questions. I feel so passionately about this and just want to be able to help people because I do see that people are struggling. So thank you for talking about this. It's much
Oh,
appreciated.
well, thanks for answering. Your answers were spot on. It taught me a
Mhm,
lot, opened my
mhm.
eyes that, a lot of the behaviors might not be my son. It could be how I'm
Mm,
reacting.
right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're
same.
going to we're going to test out a lot of these this week, but I hope everyone learned a little something today, and I hope everyone has a really great week. And as always, keep it good.